Hi, this is Andrew. Thanks for joining me. This video covers installation of Bind, which is a DNS server, and I'm installing it on CentOS 7. It would be exactly the same for Red Hat or any Red Hat operating systems. So to get started, I am already logged in. I am already logged in as root, so I have the root prompt. First thing I need to do is actually install the Bind software. So I need to yum install bind, and I also want to install bind utils. So bind utils, the bind utilities, and that starts it, and it just went through and did the install, or it's ready to do the installation. Is this okay? So it's going to total download size 4.7 megabytes, installed size 12, so it's fairly small. It should be fairly quick, even with me talking so much. So there we go. And installation is going to be quick. There it is. So it took just a matter of seconds for the full install to complete. Everything's there. Now we can go in and start configuring it. And the first thing we need to do is enable a service so it will launch every time we start up the system, start up the CentOS system. So we're going to do systemctl enable, and the bind service is named. So I do that. It creates the link to start the service. Now I do system CTL, and I'm going to start that named service. And now I'm going to actually just check the status, make sure it's running. And there we go. We see Berkeley Internet name domain bind, and it is active running. So we're ready to start using it. We will need to be configuring some files, named.conf, and we'll go through all of that configuration now. So once again, let's just clear things and get started here. Now we need to edit the configuration file, and I could use VI. I actually installed Nano earlier. I'll use that because it's kind of easier to move around and show things. So Nano etc and named.conf. So there's our file. If I go in here, I see everything that I want to see. We have a bunch of stuff that's commented out. This is the Red Hat bind package. Now we're going to go down and we have options here. So listen on port 53. That's what we want. Right now it's listen on localhost. That will be fine if we were only trying to resolve requests from this CentOS system. Obviously we want to resolve requests from other systems. Now notice the format of this. We have 127.0.0.1, and then we have a semicolon. And that's something that throws a lot of people off. It really will, it's easy to make mistakes, and then the service won't start properly. So what I want to do is actually listen on, if you look up here, the IP address of the system, of the Red Hat system or the CentOS system that is running. So it will be listening on the external IP address of CentOS. So I will put that in here, 172.16.102 and 66. And this is where it's really easy to make a mistake. We need a semicolon after that. Listen on, we're not worried about IPv6. We have that there. We are, all of these files are okay. Then we get down to the bottom. Who are we allowed to receive query requests from? And the obvious answer is you can allow requests from yourself. We want to allow requests from other systems. Now, if I were going to say listen to all requests from my internal network, from any system on the 172.16 network, I could do 0.0, and then I would put a /16. And I need that semicolon. If I don't have the semicolon, again, an error. The other thing I can do is I can say, you know what? I don't want to restrict it to just a local network. I'm going to say I'm going to listen to requests from anyone. And in doing so, basically what it'll do is it'll match zero of these octets. So it won't match any numbers to say who's allowed to, and then anyone can get to this server. So one more thing we could do is we could define who is allowed to get transfers, who's allowed to get the full zone from this DNS server. And I could do allow transfer, and it is the same format as allow query. I would do an opening brace, and then say 172.16.102.100. And formatting is the same. I need the colon, the semicolon, the brace, the closing brace, and a closing semicolon. I don't have that system on my network. I'm not going to create another system on my network to do that. So really, this line is unnecessary. This is only if you are going to have multiple bind systems in your environment. So, or multiple DNS systems. I'm going to get rid of that allow transfer. So now I'm going to create the zones that will be resolved by these by this bind server. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the file, and I'm going to define the zones and tell bind where those zone files are going to be stored. So I will say, let's see, zone, and I want quotes saying this is going to be the defining of the zone. So I'm going to do andrew.local and close that quote, and then I'm going to say in and open a brace to define all of these things. So type, this is going to be the master, and and the file it's going to be in is going to be named forward.andrew.local. And I could call it local DB or whatever I want. I'm going to call it forward.andrew.local and semicolon to end the line, and then allow dash update as none. This is saying no one can update this zone file other than directly on the system. And then we can close out the brace, and we need a semicolon at the end. So this file right here is what I'll need to create now, and I'll put my information inside of that file. So I need to let's see, save and exit. So I'm gonna Control X, which is exit, save the modifying buffer, yes, and I want to save it as that name. And now that file I need to create is going to be in var named, and it is fwd.andrew.local. And it's a blank file. It hasn't been created. I just defined it, but I'll need to put some stuff in it to start. So in order to create this file, I'm going to just take information from a sample file, a sample zone file that I found on a Fedora project webpage. So I have copied it from the webpage, I pasted it in here, and this is they're using example.com. I'm going to change this to andrew.local dot, and we need to have that dot on the end. Now I go down here, start of authority. I'm going to use just their same information. If I had specific needs, I would have to meet those needs. I'm not a bind expert. I haven't used it that much. When I was doing things System administration, I was mostly on the Windows side, so I'd be using Windows DNS here. But we're just looking at how to get things working, how to get a simple resolution going. So I'm just going to Andrew.local, and we have that running. And this is just basic information about the server. Now I want to resolve some things. So if I want to have the DNS server, I want to define the DNS server that is the name server for this zone. I'm going to do ns, and then let's see, do a tab, and I'm going to say this is dns1.andrew.local, and then I could define other types of records. An important record that I'm going to do the define who DNS1 is, and that's going to be an A record. It's going to be an A record, and that's going to be this IP address 172.16.102.66. Now I do want to make these things line up to make things a little bit easier. These are different types of records. So now what I'm going to do is actually go down and say, you know what? I want to have some others. I want to have www. I want that to be an A record that resolves to 172.16.102.88. And I want to say, you know what? I have this magic server out on the internet that I'm going to call magic, and I'm going to create an A record, and that IP address is 1.2.3.4. DNS doesn't care if any of this is real or not. All DNS is going to do is say, oh, if you want DNS1, that is 172.16.102.66. If you want www, that is 172.16.102.88. It just says, if you want this, here's what you get. If you look for magic, if you look for magic.andrew.local, you're going to see 1234 is the IP address. Even though that is not ours, we're just saying, hey, if you're looking for this, this is how you get there. So this is a forward lookup zone. With a reverse lookup zone, we could say if you're looking for this IP address, this is the computer that it is. We're not going to bother creating one. The forward lookup zone is used much more frequently. Reverse lookup zone definitely has its uses, but we just want to get a simple bind installation working right now. So now we're going to save this file. We already have it named. I just do Control X, and let's get it highlighted. Control X, yes, and now we have the file created. So we could check the configuration as a configuration checker, but I'm just going to see if things are working. So we can do systemctl restart named, and when we do that, we get a failure. So I'm going to do journalctl-xe, failed to start, and we have a problem. I can see right here named.conf line 67. So let's take a look at that. If we go Q nano etc named.conf, I can see 67 is the little 68 lines. We're at the next to last line. I didn't put a semicolon there. So let's try it again. Yes, and now I can run the restart and it works. So there was an error. I looked in the configuration. I looked in the log to find the error. I found out where it was. I was able to restart it and it worked. So the next step is we're going to see if we can actually resolve names. So let's get to that. So if I want to confirm bind is working and resolving addresses, I can go into another computer on the same network, and I have a Windows system right here. And what I can do is run a tool called NSLOOKUP. And what NSLOOKUP does is it attempts to resolve addresses. It doesn't do anything beyond just saying, what is the address for this? By default, it's going to use the IP address that is set in DNS on the system. So if I open another command prompt window, I can do IP config /all, and in here I have DNS servers 172.16.02, and that's what we get right here, 172.16.02. So let's get this out of the way. The thing is, I don't want to use that DNS server to resolve addresses. I want to use the one that we just created. So 172.16.102.66. That's the IP address of the CentOS system running bind. So if I do that, now I'm connected to that. I had an entry in there for DNS1, and I want .andrew.local. Now in the Windows system, if I had andrew.local as my default domain, or in the domain suffix search order, I would be able to resolve just with DNS. I don't, so I have to put the fully qualified domain name, and it resolves to 172.16.102.66. Now in my file, I also had a www. If you remember, that was set to 88, I believe. And there it resolved to 172.16.102.88. Now I had that other one that was kind of strange, the magic. I said something about magic there, and it resolves to 1234. Now let's say I want to go back to the bind system, and I want to add another entry in there. I want to say, let's do an entry for Yoda, and we will do A, and we will make this 8.9.7.6, just so we can see that there's a pattern there. So now I don't want to exit this file. I'm just going to write out, that's Control O to write out, and file name to write is andrew.local. Now if I go back and try over here, yoda.andrew.local, it's not resolving yet. I just need a quick restart of the service. So let's go back to here. I'm going to Control X. Let's clear the screen so we can see everything. And let's do system CTL restart named. Now it restarts now when I go back to NSLOOKUP and I try yoda.andrew.local again. It does resolve. Timed out a couple of times because they didn't put the dot at the end. So if I put the dot at the end, it's much quicker resolving. So I can add. Need to remember where I am. I can add whatever entries I want here. If I want to do, let's see, come back in here and add another one, I can add anything I want. This can go from Yoda, and then we'll add Ash, and that is A, and that is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 0. There's an IP address. Again, these are, it doesn't have to be real addresses because all we're doing is resolving. So we'll do just this one more. Control O, write out. I do need to exit, and I do need to do a, let's just type it out. System CTL restart named. Now I've restarted it. And I go back here and I can do ash.andrew.local, and that resolves to that address that I have there. Now something else I can do, if I want to look at my internet settings, let's see, change adapter options. I can look here and I can go to my DNS server that is set in IPv4. And I can change this. And this is just DNS. So this is just saying, instead of looking at the original server that we had in there, I'm going to change this to 172.16.102.66. Now, Okay, close that. Now if I run second one, if I run ipconfig all, now I have this DNS server in here. Now that means I can ping. So if I want to ping ash.andrew.local, it will resolve and try to ping that. Of course, it can't reach that, so the ping is going to time out, but you can see that it resolved. I can do Control-C and ping yoda.andrew.local, and again, it just resolves the IP address. Now it's trying to ping 8976, which it cannot reach, so it just times out, but it did actually do resolution there. So that is installing bind and a basic configuration. We could certainly go a lot deeper in configuration. There's a lot more that I didn't cover in this video, but it does give you the basics of getting things set up, getting things working, and from there you can learn whichever other pieces you want. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.